The conference room fell completely silent when Daniel Carter heard the words he had been dreading for months. "You're fired." Daniel stood frozen in front of 20 people, his hands trembling slightly at his sides. His old work badge hung around his neck, and inside his wallet was a small picture of his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. He had promised her that morning that everything would be okay. Now, with everyone watching, Daniel had no idea how he was going to keep that promise. Before we begin, if you believe one act of kindness can change someone's entire life, make sure you subscribe to Heartline Stories, like this video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Sometimes, the person who needs kindness the most is the person standing quietly right beside us. Daniel Carter was 42 years old and had been raising his daughter alone for nearly 6 years. His wife, Emily, had passed away after a long illness, leaving Daniel with a broken heart and a little girl who still slept with her mother's old scarf beside her pillow. Daniel never complained. Every morning, he woke up before sunrise, made Lily breakfast, packed her lunch, checked her homework, and drove her to school before heading to work. His job was not glamorous. He worked as a logistics coordinator at one of the largest technology companies in Chicago. He wasn't the manager. He wasn't rich. He didn't drive an expensive car. But Daniel was dependable. For 11 years, he had shown up early, stayed late, and quietly helped people whenever they needed him. If a new employee didn't understand the computer system, Daniel helped. If someone forgot an important deadline, Daniel stayed late to fix it. If a coworker was struggling financially, Daniel sometimes bought them lunch without telling anyone. He believed kindness didn't need an audience. But there was one man in the company who never appreciated Daniel. His name was Richard Hayes, the company's senior operations director. Richard believed people were valuable only when they made money for him. One Monday morning, Richard walked into the office carrying a thick folder. "Daniel," he said coldly. "Come to my office." Daniel followed him. Inside, Richard dropped the folder onto the desk. "We lost the Reynolds account." Daniel frowned. That account was transferred to another division last month. Richard leaned back. "I don't care. The CEO wants someone responsible." Daniel slowly realized what was happening. "You're blaming me?" Richard didn't answer. Instead, he pushed a termination letter across the desk. Daniel stared at it. "My daughter depends on this job." Richard shrugged. "Everyone has responsibilities." Daniel looked at him. "I have records showing the account wasn't under my department." Richard's expression hardened. "Be careful, Daniel." For the first time in years, Daniel felt anger rising inside him. But he swallowed it. He thought about Lily. He thought about rent. He thought about groceries. He thought about the school tuition that was due in 2 weeks. Then he quietly asked, "Can I at least finish today?" Richard smiled. "No. You're leaving now." And that's how Daniel found himself standing in front of the entire department. His coworkers watched silently. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked down at their desks. Richard stepped forward. "Everyone, let this be a lesson. No one is indispensable." Daniel removed his badge. His eyes were wet, but he refused to cry. Then something unexpected happened. A young employee named Sarah stood up. "Mr. Hayes." Richard turned. "What?" Sarah swallowed nervously. Daniel didn't cause the Reynolds problem. The room became silent. Richard stared at her. "Excuse me?" Sarah pulled a file from her desk. "I have the original transfer documents. The account was moved to the West Coast Division 3 weeks before the deadline." Richard's face changed. Daniel looked at Sarah in disbelief. She was risking her own job to defend him. Richard grabbed the file. "Sit down." Sarah didn't move. "No." Everyone stared at her. She continued. "Daniel helped me when I first started here. He stayed with me until 9 at night because I couldn't understand the system. He didn't have to do that. He did it because he was kind. Richard's jaw tightened. Security. Before security could arrive, the conference room doors opened. Everyone turned. The company's CEO, Michael Anderson, walked in. He had been standing outside. He had heard everything. "Security can wait," Michael said. Richard immediately straightened. "Mr. Anderson, this is a misunderstanding." Michael looked at Daniel. "Is that true?" Daniel hesitated. "I don't know anymore." Michael looked at the termination letter. Then he looked at Richard. "Who approved this termination?" Richard's face went pale. "I did." Michael slowly nodded. "Without checking the transfer records?" Richard said nothing. Michael turned toward Daniel. "Mr. Carter, how long have you worked here?" 11 years. "And during those 11 years, how many major system failures have you prevented?" Daniel looked confused. "I don't know." Michael smiled slightly. "I do." He opened his tablet. 27. The room became silent again. Michael continued. "You prevented 27 major operational failures. You saved this company millions of dollars. And you never asked for recognition." Daniel didn't know what to say. Michael looked toward Richard. "And yet you fired him without investigating." Richard tried to speak. "Sir, Enough." Michael turned back to Daniel. "There is something else you don't know." Daniel frowned. "What?" Michael took a breath. 6 years ago, when this company was struggling, someone anonymously gave our struggling employees emergency financial assistance. Daniel's heart skipped. Michael looked directly into his eyes. "That person was you." Daniel said nothing. Michael continued. "You donated your own savings to help 12 employees keep their homes." Sarah covered her mouth. Several employees looked shocked. Daniel lowered his eyes. "I just didn't want anyone to lose everything." Michael smiled. "That is exactly why I came looking for you." Daniel looked up. "For what?" Michael placed another document on the table. "I want you to lead our new employee support division." Daniel stared at him. "Me?" "Yes." Richard looked horrified. Michael continued. "And Richard Hayes is no longer your boss." The room erupted into whispers. Daniel felt tears roll down his face. But these weren't tears of humiliation anymore. They were tears of relief. That evening, Daniel returned home later than usual. Lily ran toward him. "Daddy!" Daniel picked her up and held her tightly. She looked at his face. "Are you okay?" Daniel smiled. "For the first time in a long time, I think we are going to be okay." Lily hugged him. "Did you lose your job?" Daniel shook his head. "No, sweetheart." He kissed her forehead. "I found something better." Months later, Daniel became known throughout the company for something more important than his job title. He became the man employees came to when they were afraid. When someone was struggling, Daniel listened. When someone made a mistake, he helped them learn. When someone felt invisible, he reminded them that they mattered. And one day, Sarah asked him why he had never told anyone about the money he had donated years earlier. Daniel smiled. "Because kindness isn't kindness anymore when you're doing it just to be praised." Sarah nodded. Daniel looked out through the office window. He thought about everything that had happened. Being fired. Being humiliated. Being defended by someone he had once helped. And realizing that the kindness he had given away so quietly had somehow found its way back to him. That night, Daniel sat beside Lily on their small apartment balcony. She rested her head against his shoulder. "Daddy?" "Yes?" "What's the best thing you ever did?" Daniel smiled. Being kind when nobody was watching. Lily thought about it. Why? Daniel looked at the city lights. Because sometimes, sweetheart, you never know how much someone is hurting behind a smile. He squeezed her hand. And sometimes, one small act of kindness becomes the reason someone keeps going. Daniel had lost his job that morning. But he had gained something far more valuable. He had discovered that kindness is never wasted. It may not return when you expect it. It may not come from the person you helped. And sometimes, it may take years. But kindness has a way of traveling through people's lives until, one day, it finds its way back to you. So the next time you see someone struggling, don't assume they're okay. Offer a kind word. Hold the door. Buy someone a meal. Listen when they need to talk. Because you may think it's a small thing. But to someone else, it might be everything. And perhaps, somewhere out there, someone like Daniel is waiting for one person to remind him that he matters. Never underestimate the power of kindness. Because you may change someone's day with it. And sometimes, you can change their entire life.